Welcome to the Texas Values Report. This is Jonathan Saenz, president of Texas Values. Great to be with you on another glorious week in the state of Texas. I believe it's Constitution Week. You know, there's a state law in Texas that says that you have to teach about the U.S. Constitution in our Texas public schools. That's something to be grateful for and be encouraged by. So ask your kids when they come home from school this week what they learned about the Constitution. I was having a conversation with my daughter, as a matter of fact, about social studies with some good homework time last night. So we'll get into some topics about education, and we're going to talk about things. If you're new to this show, we cover the issues of faith, family, and freedom in the arenas of the courts, the legislature, and the media. And I tell you what, we are going to be covering all those topics and issues in a robust way in about a week from today. Our Faith, Family, and Freedom Forum's coming up. We're excited about it. This is the 5th year in a row that we're doing this. This is the largest event in the state of Texas that is nonprofit, Christian-based, and covers the issues of religious freedom, marriage and family, and pro-life in the arenas that we work in at Texas Values. And I'm excited about our guest today because he's going to be one of our guests and speakers at the Faith, Family, and Freedom Forum, and he sort of switches gears. He was like more of a behind-the-scenes guy in some ways. Sometimes he'd make some appearances at our events as well. But now he's going to be center stage. David Walls is our guest today on the Texas Values Report. And that name may be familiar with you. For many years, he served in a variety of roles for Texas Values. He was one of the founders of Texas Values, was director of operations, and then became vice president of Texas Values. But we're excited to welcome back David, because now he's in the state of Kentucky. He is the family policy executive director and the leader for the state of Kentucky for an organization like Texas Values. David's a proud graduate of UT Dallas, UT Arlington, and SMU. David, welcome back, I guess, to the Texas Values Report.
Yeah, Jonathan, man, it's good to be with you. I'm excited about being at the Faith, Family, and Freedom Forum this weekend, being back in Texas. I was just looking at the lineup, and man, y'all have got a good lineup this year. Looking forward to a great event, and encourage folks to get their tickets and join us. But as Jonathan said, you know, I was had the opportunity this last year. We are you know, Texas Values, the Family Foundation here in Kentucky, blessed to be a part of a network of family policy council groups allied on religious freedom, marriage, family, and life. And the Lord called my family and I to the state of Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, to lead the Family Foundation, which is the partner group here in Kentucky when our founder had retired. And so we followed the Lord in that, and it's been good. We've been blessed to be here a little over a year, and had a good legislative session this last session. We actually have session again next year, so that's something I'm coming to terms with the session each year. But Jonathan, as you know, a lot of work on the pro-life issue right now.
Yeah.
We have a pro-life constitutional amendment on our ballot here in Kentucky, and there is just so much at stake on the issue of life, as I know in Texas, like Kentucky, a very pro-life state. We're thankful to the Lord that Roe was overturned, that we've had the ability to protect unborn children and have abortion effectively be prohibited. But we have an opportunity to ensure in our Kentucky Constitution that we don't end up with a state level Roe v. Wade style decision to impose an abortion on demand agenda here in Kentucky. And so the fight continues on, and excited to be helping stand for life here in Kentucky.
Well, look, there's no doubt. I mean, the life issue has been enormous this year, but there's still work to do. There's no question it was significant, historic. The Dobbs v. Jackson case that overruled Roe versus Wade is a landmark decision. There's no question. As you know, David, the Roe v. Wade case came from the state of Texas, but since 1973, really essentially stood for that abortion on demand is illegal throughout the country, and there's only very little that states can do about it. It took the power away from the states and really the individuals and citizens through their elected representatives, and said, we're going to tell you how to handle this issue, and you're going to have to do it our way. And the Supreme Court in Dobbs v. Jackson said, that's not right. We're not involved in this decision anymore. It's now for the states to decide. And some states that were already ready and sort of had that framework and that foundation of how things were going to go if Roe versus Wade was overturned, but some did not. And so that's a situation you find yourself in Kentucky. I want to step back for just a second. I try to have a little fun. We're in football season, okay, this time of year. One of our speakers on Friday is going to be Coach Kennedy. Speaking of football and religious freedom, he won a case at the U.S. Supreme Court. It was kind of a tough weekend last week. Did your team win? Did SMU win? I didn't look.
Honestly, I hate to say, I'm not sure.
I should have asked you about that before we went on the air, right? Just to give you a little heads up.
I know UK had a big win.
Yeah, that's right. That's who you follow now. Kentucky beat.
I was rooting for the Longhorns. That was a heartbreaker. That was a heartbreaker.
No, so my law school lost, U of H, to Mary Elizabeth's Texas Tech Red Raiders. Okay, who else lost? The Cowboys lost. The Texans tied, and so I didn't watch all of those games. I caught little pieces here and there. I did watch the Longhorn game, and I felt like we had a good showing. I still don't like to lose, but nonetheless, we're going to talk a lot about that next week at our event because Coach Kennedy's going to be there. For 7 years, he fought to not, to really push back against the fact that he was fired for praying after a game. You look at a lot of the injuries and things that happen in sporting events, particularly football. There can be a lot of good reasons to reflect after a game and say, thank you that no one got hurt and that we had good spirit. I know my son had a football game on Friday night, and it was, this past Friday night, and they didn't do so well. Really a tough game, but it was really, my son's junior varsity team. They lost at a really to a good team, but it wasn't even close. But it was nice to see at the end of the event, they came together and they prayed at the 50-yard line, right? And my kid's in private school, so maybe that's different. But if it's student-led, if they do it on their own, a coach decides to do it on their own, what's the deal there? The Constitution allows it. We're going to talk about that topic. We're going to talk about life. You've got a big issue you're dealing with in the state of Kentucky. But, and we're reflecting for a minute, right? David was with us for so long. He still has a lot of family and connections to Texas. But we are excited to have you come back because it allows you to showcase this network that we have. And the panel David's going to speak at is actually on Saturday. I think we're putting the full program and timing up today. So be looking at that on our website. And if you haven't gotten tickets yet, it's next week, September 23rd and 24th. But we're gonna be able to showcase that we have this network of organizations we work with across the country, close to 40 different organizations where we can sometimes help them with what they're doing. They can give us insight on what's going on in their state, sort of what to look out for and what to be rooting for, because there's so much power that lies within the states, and particularly when we band together. We're going to have, I haven't told you this, Jerry Cox is going to be here on that panel too, David. We were supposed to have Julaine Appling from Wisconsin. She's had some things that have come up, so she's not able to make it. So we filled Jerry in. But it's going to be important to talk about what's happening in other states, because you've got a big issue coming up. And I do think, even though I'm not going to vote in the state of Kentucky, or maybe our participants are, they may know people there. They may be able to message on social media about why it's important for states to do these issues. Tell us a little bit more. Give us a little bit more detail about that ballot measure that's coming up.
Absolutely, Jonathan. Well, and then, as certainly it's disappointing to see the result in Kansas. And so we have the opportunity to course correct, not just here for Kentucky, but for the pro-life movement. I believe we're the only state that has a pro-life constitutional amendment on the ballot in November. And look, we have a trigger ban. We have a heartbeat bill. Those are in effect. Our abortion clinics have stopped performing abortions. Praise the Lord. But we have an ongoing court challenge right now that our Kentucky Supreme Court has taken. And we've had a lower level judge who has said, essentially there's a secret right to an abortion hidden into the Kentucky Constitution. And we know these arguments are now being made across the nation after Roe was overturned and the issue was returned to the states. And so this is important to ensure once and for all that there's not the ability for an activist level state court decision here in Kentucky. But we just had a campaign filing deadline yesterday, and some news media.
Those are always fun.
Well, Planned Parenthood has dumped, and the ACLU and other pro-abortion groups have dumped over $1 million into Kentucky since the Kansas vote. So this battle continues. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and we're talking with David Walls. He is the family policy director, the leader for the state of Kentucky for the Family Foundation of Kentucky. This is an organization that's like Texas Values, but for the state of Kentucky. If you remember, David Walls was a part of the team at Texas Values for many years from the beginning. And now it's been a little over a year, I think, that he's been in that position. And he's in the middle of some big fights. And so he needs our help. And look, I mean, we were told for so long, Planned Parenthood said this is a very small percentage of our work and 3% or whatever. And all of a sudden the Supreme Court says, Roe versus Wade is overturned. And a lot of states say we're outlawing abortion. We're going to protect babies. And all of a sudden Planned Parenthood acts like their world's going to end for such a small percentage of what they claim they do. And so we've known all along that abortion is their business. Absolutely. And here they are dumping a lot of money. And aren't they supposed to be a nonprofit organization? Who knows where the money came from? We know they get a lot of funding from the government. But they're going to be big players, right? I mean, because they realize whether or not their organization is going to sort of live or die, it's going to exist or not, depends now on the power that these states have. And so that's big money. I mean, ballot measures usually don't see a lot of that funding. I mean, it happens sometimes, but it's the exception. And so, look, if people want to support what David's doing, you don't have to be from the state of Kentucky to make a contribution. Am I right?
No. And you certainly don't have to be in the state of Kentucky to pray for this vote and for others that'll be voting on important issues in November. Jonathan, I also want to say, if it's okay, put another plug in. I saw that Riley Gaines is going to be there. Who is a UK
she's
swimmer.
A Kentucky athlete, right?
Yeah, I believe she's graduated now.
Two people from your state.
Yeah, we worked as I know Texas Values did to help get a Save Women's Sports bill passed. But we had the situation where UK swimmer Riley Gaines was participating in the national championships and had the situation where she had to compete against a biological male, as many know the story, and she's been a great advocate out sharing that story. But she actually came to the Kentucky Capitol the day that we were overriding. We have a Democrat governor here in Kentucky that had vetoed our Save Women's Sports bill, but was able to overwhelmingly override that. And that's where I first met Riley. She came to the Capitol and did a press conference the day that bill was overridden by our governor. So we're excited for everyone in Texas to get to hear her story at the Faith, Family, and Freedom Forum.
Well, look, her story is quite extraordinary, and we know there are more, right? Yeah. I mean, the courage it takes to come forward, to put yourself out there in a very contentious environment these days, where you have people that are motivated by this issue to sort of silence or cancel people. And real quick, I'm going to share this on my personal Facebook page so we can just increase the visibility of it as we finish up or move into the second half of our conversation. So if you're on Facebook, get this into some chats, into some groups, and let's continue this conversation with David Walls talking about Save Women's Sports, the pro-life issue. As many people know, the swimmer, Lia Thomas, whatever he's calling himself now, this is a male swimmer who now is competing in women's sports. He's from Texas. David, he went to Westlake High School. Okay, we didn't know this at first. We did a little investigation. He was a swimmer on the male swim team for Westlake, which is a very well-known high school in the state of Texas. They win a lot of championships. Drew Brees went to high school there. Nick Foles went to high school there. These are NFL Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. And so proud sports tradition. That's where Lia Thomas, he was calling himself Will Thomas, came from, and then went to compete at the University of Pennsylvania. Riley, who is a female competitive swimmer at the collegiate level in Kentucky, David, she told me she tied him in a race. And get this, and I'm going to let her tell the rest of the story in person. They gave the trophy to Lia Thomas that day. They said, well, we only have one trophy. They gave it to him. I mean, the outrage. She was at CPAC. We saw her across the little road there when CPAC was in Dallas. And we connected, and I think I'd heard about her, but yeah, she's going to come speak, and she's got an incredible testimony, and you got to hear her words in person, and it makes a difference. Does it sound like it did for your legislature?
It certainly did, and we had the dynamic too, where we were fighting to get as strong a bill as possible to ensure that collegiate athletes were protected. And thankfully we were able to get that done, but that was kind of exhibit A for us about why we need consistent protections across all grade levels. It's simply unacceptable to have biological males competing, winning, taking championships away and spots on teams away from female athletes. And this issues continue to play out at the federal level with the Biden administration pushing, a redefinition and really seeking to erase Title IX, such an important issue that I know y'all will be continuing to address in Texas and in other states that need to save women's sports.
No, you're right. We're talking with David Walls. He is the leader of the Family Foundation of Kentucky. This is the Family Policy Council organization for the state of for the state of Kentucky. So this is the organization like Texas Values for the state of Kentucky. There's about 40 groups like them across the country that are family policy councils. We have a network where we connect with each other. We pray for each other. We encourage and we try to support each other as well, because a lot of times the situations and circumstances are not the same, but a lot of the issues that we work on are the same, and the playing field can be often the same. I'll tell you, so we're talking about Riley Gaines, who's a female competitive swimmer from the University of Kentucky. She's going to be at the Texas Values event. The courage it takes for someone like her to come forward, because most of the women that are competing, they just feel this pressure. They know it's public or whatever it is, that if they say something, there's going to be some type of retribution. And so I'm looking forward to her speak, and it allows people to see this is really happening, right? And so we've been trying to get this message across to our legislators. So I'm looking, there's going to be some elected officials at our event, looking forward to hearing them talk about or them connect with her and see her talk about it and experience what she's gone through, right? And she talks about how long she trained to get to this point. You can imagine, to be a competitive swimmer, this is usually something lifelong. It's not something, a hobby that they picked up a couple of years ago. She's going to be there, but you're going to be there too, David. You're going to talk about that life issue you're dealing with, this ballot measure. And I'm looking forward to you share some of hey, this is what helped us get college protection at the state level, right? As you know, Texas, we only got high school sports done, right? And we've been pushing back against that, saying we have got to come back and get this issue done at the collegiate level in the state of Texas. We've had some swimmers, former UT Longhorn swimmers, that have come forward and said this is not right, but we're going to need more to get it done. And so I'm looking forward to you sharing that. Now, you bringing any of the family, or is it just you?
Actually, I will be bringing one of the kiddos for a little daddy-daughter jaunt back to the great state.
There you go.
So looking forward to it.
A little trot down memory lane, right?
Yeah.
We're looking forward to having you. I mean, look, you've been a part of this event for many years. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Ted Cruz is going to be speaking at a private dinner. We've got the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, Kristen Hawkins, Students for Life. As I mentioned, Joe Kennedy. We've got our good friend Joseph Backholm from Family Research Council. The lineup is absolutely incredible. And I don't say that to brag about it, if you will. I want people to understand the value that you're getting and in the effort we put in an event like this together, so people can learn more, right? David knows the saying, educate, motivate, and activate, right? That's what we're trying to do with this event. We're trying to bring people, and David is in the middle of, like a lot of our speakers, it's current work that's going on right now. You're going to find out what's happening right now in a lot of different subject areas, the people that are making the difference, information you can draw from them to make a difference as well. And so I know there's some football games going on that weekend, so we'll ask people to, maybe not pay attention to it as well. But we're going to have a football at our event, okay? We've got our 10-year anniversary football here. David knows that I like to peddle products. And so this is part of our logo. You may or may not be able to get one of our special footballs, and you might be able to get one signed by Coach Kennedy. He's speaking on Friday of all days. Of course, high school football coach would speak on a Friday. We're excited about that. David, we're excited about seeing you come back to the state of Texas, share some of your experience, some of your success, but also some encouragement of how we can get our work done. David's going to be on a panel early on Saturday, and so you want to make sure not to miss that. So, David, tell us the date again in the website for the life ballot measure.
Absolutely. So it's the November 8th, the general election, and folks can learn more at yesforlifeky.com. That's the Yes for Life Constitutional Amendment website, and also at kentuckyfamily.org. That's our Family Foundation website. We've got some great resources on there to prep folks for the importance of this amendment. And Jonathan, I also just have to give a shout out and say I look forward to being back at Great Hills Baptist Church, which was my
Danny
home,
Forshee.
Pastor Forshee, and they just got a just a great church, a great facility, great place to host this event. Looking forward to it, and encourage folks, if you hadn't got your tickets, get your tickets and come. It's worth the day and a half. You will be equipped, you'll be informed, and you'll leave encouraged to make an impact for faith, family, and freedom in Texas and in Kentucky.
All right, we're going to clip that and use it as commercial later. Good job, David. Okay, so September 23rd and 24th next week is the event. David will be speaking at our event in person on Saturday, September 24th. So David Walls from the Family Foundation has been our guest today on the Texas Values Report. Thanks, David.
Appreciate it, Jonathan.
All right, so David will be here next week. I don't know, maybe I'll get him to come into the office and look around, make sure we're still doing things the right way and have some fun with that. He hasn't seen our new office, though. We got a nice little perch here by the Capitol, but that just allows us to do some of the work that we do in a more close-up way. But we're also got some other ways that we are growing. I can't tell you everything yet. Some of these things may be announced at the event. That's why you got to be there in person. But hey, if you can't make it to our event, we are, I don't know if I can say this yet. I will just tell you, circle November 11th on your calendar in the state of Texas, but definitely in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, because I think we're going to have something special for you that evening. Friday, November 11th, circle your calendar, Dallas-Fort Worth area, something special could be coming your way that you're going to be a part of, want to be a part of. And if you can't make it to some of our events, though, you can support us at txvalues.org. You can make a tax-deductible donation today to help with our work for faith, family, and freedom in the state of Texas. And look, our work goes on. I mean, these events are not free. Okay, we try to make it affordable for people. And so you get, something of value, and you feel like your time was valued as well. And so we try to make it affordable because we don't want it to be about a fundraising event. We want to have just enough finances to cover the event and sort of break even, if you will, so people can be there. But we want the room to be filled. Okay. Great Hills Baptist Church, as David mentioned, where the event's being held in Central Texas, has a large worship arena, if you will. I mean, you can almost call it an arena. Their worship center holds plenty of room. So, if you also are still trying to, social distance or whatever, there's plenty of room to move around. But we want that room to be as full as possible. Plenty of seats in there. And we do still have some tickets available. I will tell you, the private dinner for Senator Cruz is not in a big space. Okay. It is in the church, but it is in more of a designated special event space. And that event is almost sold out. If you want to sit in the room or even up close, and I imagine you might have an opportunity to shake a hand with Senator Cruz and get a picture. I can't guarantee that unless you go to the VIP reception for the event. Go to txvalues.org. You can see all the details there. Senator Cruz is very active these days. So for him to be at an event, particularly in Central Texas, is a real treasure. And so, but that event's going to sell out. It sells out every year. The policy forum sells out every year. The dinner always sells out before because there's a limited amount of tickets. There are only 200 seats. Okay. I was sent a number earlier today. We're getting pretty close, and there's a little more than a week left. And so that dinner is going to sell out if you want to be there. And I will tell you, the dinner with Senator Cruz is not at a level that if we had some of our larger events and we had sort of your traditional gala, the dinner price would probably be at least twice that much. We've even made this private dinner a little bit more affordable because, again, while we might ask you to write a check or donate at that event, it is not a typical donation event. It's really more of a suggestion that we're going to make. We're also trying to just keep and manage our costs with this event, but we want to have a private dinner with some of our friends and supporters to make it special and also have some good time with a leader on faith, family, and freedom, Senator Ted Cruz. My point to you is the private dinner is even a lot more affordable than what you'd see typically in some of our galas when a big part of the goal is to raise money. You've always got to have a higher ticket price. So there's a little bit of margin there for donations for us to do our work. But we've even made this one more affordable. So, but that private dinner with Senator Cruz, that's a part of the Faith, Family, and Freedom Forum, it will absolutely sell out, and maybe by the end of this week. So go to txvalues.org. As a matter of fact, I posted this on social media. Okay, send us an email and we'll consider this. I think we're going to open up 1 or 2 seats. If you pledge to volunteer for the 2 days of the event, I'll give you a ticket to Senator Cruz dinner, okay? Because we need a lot of volunteers, okay? But it's a way to say thank you as well. But that's per our review. We've got to know who you are, and we've got to verify you and all that good stuff. But send an email to at txvalues.org. If you can commit to the full time of the 2-day event, 1 to 5 on Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturday, I'll give you a free ticket to the dinner. I may even throw in 2 if I get 2 or 3 very motivated volunteers. But you'll get a free ticket slot. Sit, have dinner with Senator Cruz. Speaking of volunteers, we do need volunteers. If you can volunteer 1 hour, 2 hours, we'll give you a free ticket to the event, not to Senator Cruz dinner. That's got to be a 2-day commitment. But if you at least commit to 2 hours, we'll give you free access to the event for 2 days. That includes a boxed lunch because we need a lot of volunteers. This event has gotten huge. All right. txvalues.org/policy forum or just txvalues.org right there on our homepage. You'll see a link for this event. We're going to have a great time next week. But we have not stopped the work we're doing just to have this event, even though it's taken a lot of time. As we move forward and get into the election season, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're getting educated about what's on the ballot, who's on the ballot, what your rights are. Talk about it in your community groups, in your church groups. Make sure people are aware. And look, you talk about some of the speakers that we're involved in. Some of them are very active on social media, are involved in some stories. Brandon Showalter, there's a great article out this week about some of the work that he's been doing to push back and really shed the light on what it's like for these children that go through or are forced to go through gender transitions. They're going to break your heart. Okay. It's sad to see some of this. David mentioned this. We're pushing back against this effort to change the rules on Title IX that the Biden administration is trying to push. So a lot of different ways that you can get active. Go to our website, go to our social media channels and see some of the work that we're doing. Just some of the many reasons why you should consider supporting us financially. Our budget's about $2 million collectively every year. Texas Values is a 501c3 organization, and you can donate to us at txvalues.org. And that's how together we'll continue to protect faith, family, and freedom in the state of Texas. And we'll talk to you next week on the Texas Values Report.